Jai Bhim, Jai Mulwasi. Welcome to MNT News Network. Today is Sunday, and today we want to discuss our one of the topic in English. So today we have invited Mulwasi Dr. Chandra Sen ji, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Galgotiyas University, and the today's topic is, however good our constitution is, it has turned out bad because those who are elected to implement it happen to be a bad lot. So this is the topic. Sir, Dr. Chandra Sen ji, welcome to MNT News Network. Jai Bhim, Jai
Thank you.
Mulawasi.
Jai Bhim, sir.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining MNT News Network. And Dr. Chandra Sen ji is working as assistant professor at Department of Political Science, Galgotiyas University. And Dr. Sen is having vast experience in various subjects, particularly in political science and in constitution. And Dr. Sen studied in JNU Hyderabad, JNU New Delhi, and later he went to abroad, and later he joined in Central University Bhatinda. And now Dr. Chandra Sen ji is working as assistant professor in this university in political science department. Sir, today you are well known about this topic, and today we want to discuss on various issues about Indian Constitution. And nowadays, everybody is talking about Constitution, and BAMSEF and BAMSEF organization has started Bees for Abhiyan in 2016, and thereafter, most of the educated class are talking about Indian Constitution. Sir, I would like to ask you the first question: how Constitution is important for this country, and what is its role? Dr. Senji,
Oh, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me here and
welcome.
providing me a great opportunity to share my views, particularly on this topic, which is very close to our heart. And it's not only close to our heart, but it's very important for India as a whole, where we can find that Indian polity, which is started after 1950s, the enactment of our great constitutions. And it was, of course, the credit has been given, and we, of course, know the personality, the great personality who has been the role model for this Indian polity and the in writing constitution, Dr. Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar. So, in that context, Indian constitutions came into being first time in Indian subcontinent, where uh, everybody as a nation has become independent after leaving of the colonial power United uh, Kingdom. So 1950, we as India first time came as a free country. So not in terms of political freedom, but first time due to enactment of our constitution, every section of the society, first time in Indian history, in South Asian history, where all the section of the society is living for centuries, first time on paper at least they were recognized as independent, free, and equal citizen of this country. So this was happening first time. Of course, if we go back to the history, there were the many rulers starting from the Hindus, the Mughals, then British, but no one has given the equal status to every section of the society, particularly the marginalized section. So in that context, this constitution is very important first time, where everybody, barring their caste, religion, culture, and gender, because gender is very important while we talk of our Indian constitution. So everybody got equal status, and that is very important if someone knows the history of Indian society. So that's one point where I would like to emphasize the great importance of Indian constitution. That one, equality. Number two, the in the sense of gender equality, which is very important in Indian subcontinent, where Indian women in first go they have been given the voting right. If we go the great nations which are today across the world, which we revert, which we basically try to find out some examples which great democracies across the world. For example, United States of America, for example, United Kingdom, Australia. These are the great democracies of the world. The oldest democracy of the world is known as the United States of America. But when we read the history of United States of America, they have not given equal voting right in one vote to the black women. So we know the history of 1960s, 64 civil rights, when the black folks they fought, and after 1773 onwards, first time black women and men they were given the voting right first time. But here in India, just go to United Kingdom, 1928 they were given, the women of Britain they were given the equal right. Come to Australia, the indigenous people of that country they were given the voting right, particularly women, in 1962. But if we come to India, our Indian women from any class, any caste, any region and religion, they were given equal right of voting first time in India. So that's point number two, where our women also treated equal as the men are. So this is the two great importance. But at the same time, Indian constitution has many implications, many importance in terms of democratizing Indian society. If we see the kind of hierarchical Indian society has been for centuries, where gender and caste play great important role, where a particular caste has been given more importance, more rights. But the lower section of the society, so-called the lower section of society, which is called Dalit Bahujan or the Mool Niwasis, they were never treated equal in these societies, which constitutes more than 80%. So, after enactment of our constitution, this constitution has played great role in terms of revolutionize the societies, where they have been given the fundamental rights to everyone. So in that terms, Indian constitution has been revolutionized and democratized Indian societies. So in that terms, we we acknowledge the founding fathers of our Indian constitution in terms of political democracy, in terms of political equality and liberty, in terms of social equality, which Indian constitution has given to every section of the societies, and particularly in terms of gender, where women were treated equal to the men, which was first time in Indian history. So in that sense, Indian constitution has great role in overall democratizing Indian polity and society.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Chandra Sen ji. Thank you for a brief and elaborate introduction about the Indian and the importance of our Indian Constitution. Um, we have got the basic rights after enacting and adapting the Indian Constitution. Um, Article 340 deals with the appointment of commission to investigate the conditions of backward classes. The first time the word backward classes came into force in Article 340, and Article 341 about scheduled castes and 342 about scheduled tribes. And the OBC, SC, ST, and the religious converted Mulnivasis. And these three sectors are being called as Mulnivasis. So, how these OBC, SC, ST, that is Mulnivasi, Bahujan people, and the whole country is benefited through the constitution. How the weaker section are benefited, and how the upper strata, or what we are calling, is also benefited. And what is the difference between these two stratas, and how they have used the constitution, and how the constitution gave opportunities for the development of these sectors. Dr. Senji.
Oh, thank you. This is very sociological and political questions which you have raised. So, in terms of Indian society, sociologically, the so-called the lower section of the society, which we used to call Mool Nivasi or the Bahujan section of the societies, if we go and try to understand Indian society in terms of caste, these sections which constitute the majority of Hindu society, uh, which were basically denied every right of the society, be it the right to have property, be it the right to have equal access to any uh, any uh, any common spaces, be the right of education or right the property. So these rights were denied by many dham shastra, particularly the Manu Smriti. So in that terms, these rights were denied. In reading that Dharma Shastra, we can find that these Mool Nivasis or Bahujan section of the societies, they were basically not given the right, but they were forcefully uh, asked to do duties. So in that terms, the rights were being snatched, denied to these section of the societies, but they were forced to do duty to serve to the upper section of the societies. So in that terms, the so-called upper section of the societies, they have exclusively have uh, every kind of right, be it the educational right, religious right, uh, the right to property, a right to have any kind of arms. So every kind of rights these section of the society they have, and that right has basically made them so powerful that that right to property, right to education made them more advanced. In that terms, they have exploited and excluded these major section of the society. So in one sense, we can say the major section of the society they were denied, but the minority section of the societies, which is so-called upper caste societies, they have appropriated all the wealth of these nations, and while appropriating all the property and the resources of the society, they have exploited the majority sections of the society. But let's come to the 1950s, where Indian Constitution came into being. The first time these sections, which were denied the right of any kind of right, they were given the right, and certain provisions had been made in the constitutions where special provisions were made in the constitution to protect this section of the society. One of them is the fundamental right, and the one is the economic right, and the one is the reservation right. From that reservation, these sections they managed to get certain seats, got got certain opportunities in educational sectors, in government sectors, as well as in political affairs. They came into the public affairs first time, and later on, gradually, new political formation came across the country. And first time, the Dalit Bahujan or Mool Nivasi sections they managed to get the power in certain section of the society. Some states they have ruled. For example, in UP, Bahujan Samaj Party came as a bigger force where rule. At one hand, we have Samajwadi Party, which is OBC sections, which came and they rule. In Bihar, there are RJD, Nitish government, Ram Vilas Paswan. In Maharashtra, there are many sections, many political formations. They came. Southern India, because of this reservation, a certain sections, a middle class Dalit Bahujans emerged who could articulate their rights, who could articulate the political and economic right and interests of the section of the societies, through which they they could manage to win certain seats, manage to rule certain states. In doing so, they have benefited the larger section of the societies and empowered the socially excluded, historically marginalized section of the society. And first time they has become, in some sense, in a shorter period of time, become the ruling class of the societies, and they have well managed in particular state where they have uh, rule a particular state and govern in a better way of Indian state and society.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Chandra Sen ji. I would like to ask another question.
Mm.
The Article 1 to 4 of our Indian Constitution deals with the Union and its territory. And part 2 deals with citizenship, and part 3 deals with fundamental rights from Article 12 to 35. Now, and my question is, what are the threats to our Indian Constitution? Whether these threats to our Indian Constitution are these threats to our union and territory, or whether these threats to our citizenship are fundamental rights. So, what are the real threats that we can anticipate, and we can discuss in the coming days, and how to protect the Indian Constitution? Please explain the threats to our Indian Constitution.
Oh, thank you. This questions is basically very important in today's context, where we could find a certain section of political elites of this country which are ruling for last more than one decade, which are try to overturn, which are try to change certain part of our constitutions, and uh, try to basically formulate a kind of new uh, form of political establishment in this country, which I am trying to referring to the majoritarianism, Hindu majoritarianism, where they are trying to find out, where they want to just replace the Indian constitution and want to basically have the Hindu Rashtra, which is very dangerous for Indian, not only Indian constitution, but the multicultural section of our societies, because this Hindu Rashtra is nothing the Rashtra of basically the so-called upper caste section of the society. So in any kind of theological state which any political formation which try to educate in the land of this diverse country is of course threat to Indian democracy, as well as threat to the diverse society of this nation. So first of all, we try to find out and try to emphasize that any kind of religious state is a threat to Indian democracy and the spirit of Indian constitution. Another section of the society which try to overthrow the political democracy of this country, which talks about the gradual changes in the society, and this section of society is a kind of extremist ideologies which try to challenge Indian polity and constitution, which is, I would like to say, is a threat to Indian constitution. So another section which is very important after 90s, where LPG, meaning liberalization and globalization process started in 1990s, where a particular elites, class elite have emerged, and the bourgeoisie and capitalist section of the society which has came over and tried to overthrow and challenge the basic structure of Indian societies, where Indian state has been considered as a political welfare state which will take care of its citizens. Now the capitalist forces are being so powerful in this country, which are directly and indirectly try to capture the ruling elites. In a sense, we can say the ruling elites are in well uh, well cooperation or cooperating with the elite, the bourgeoisie elite of the nations, and or the global capitalist forces which are challenging the basic structure of Indian democracy, because Indian democracy is not just political democracy. Indian democracy is where we can just quote Dr. Ambedkar that Indian democracy is not the political democracy, but the aim of Indian democracy is to democratize or socialize Indian society and Indian economy, where we can build this nation, where one hand we have political democracy, but on the other hand we should have also social equality and economic equality. But in terms of social equality and economic equality, we can find out that after liberalization, there is a huge chunk of marginalized sections which are being targeted because their welfare policies are being denied by the welfare state, which our Indian state and constitution promised to provide them. So now, because of privatization, these sections were not able to get the benefit of welfare state. So I would like to emphasize that the capitalist forces, which are basically trying to capture the political elite of this country, and in that way they are trying to bring certain challenges to Indian democracy and polity. So there are some other instances where we could find out there uh, certain judgment and judicial overreach of our judges in some cases, where they try to uh, hint a certain judgment, try to give certain judgment where they try to uh, change certain policies of Indian Constitution promised by Indian state, which is, I would like to say, if Indian Parliament is the supreme body where they can formulate or enact any laws, but elite of judiciary sometimes they try to dictate or try to um, come with certain arguments where they try to dictate the Indian parliamentary system, which I would like to say that if judiciary or any other part of a society, or for example, the media, the kind of media's role in the society which has emerged after 2014 onwards, where they have just polarized the society and not just giving the right picture, whatever is happening in the society. They have just polarize the society in terms of religion, and not taking the real issues of the society. They are posing certain challenges to Indian polity and society in that sense, which is one need to be very cautious while looking at the whole processes of Indian polity, and we need to safeguard our Indian constitution and Indian politics from these big challenges.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining about this question. And Dr. Chandra Sen ji, Article 308 to 323 deals about services, and the government sector and public sector comes under these articles. And the educated and elite class are extending their services through these articles, and the entire Indian budget is being spent through the services of the educated and government employees. So this is the provision available in the Indian Constitution, and how the educated and the people are targeting and smashing the philosophy and purpose of our constitution. Whether the educated class is having any role to the damages that is being done to the Indian constitution, and the educated class has to propagate about the importance and its uh, uh, the basic strength of the Indian Constitution to keep the country unite. So, and in one side, people are targeting and smashing the philosophy of philosophy and the purpose of our Constitution. On the other side, the role of educated people, what they have to do. So, it's just please explain within 3 to 4 minutes.
See, the role of educated people, which constitute uh, which is a minority section of the society, but this minority, which is elite in terms of education, elite terms of access to the various exposures of the society. This section has dual responsibilities. One hand, where they need to protect the basic structures of our constitutions, basic fabric of the constitution. So in terms of ideology, when they formulate certain kind of policies, so they are being given responsibility, because they are being benefited of the great educational institutions of the society, where they need to pay back to the society. But at the same time, these elites, which has emerged over the period of time after being benefited of these great institutions, sometimes they act in a way which is against the interest of the majority section of the society. So these elite, in terms of social elite, first of all, the social elite, which is very dangerous in terms of formulating the majoritarian and the Brahminical culture and propagating the Brahminical culture and trying to hegemonize the other Dalit Bahujan cultures. So in that terms, these elites are very dangerous because these elites have the access to the knowledge, and knowledge is a power in that sense, where if someone has this educational access, so these elites can formulate certain policies which may and may not in in the favor of society. So we need to understand who are these elites, because these elites have different social background. If the social elite, I would say, in terms of caste and religious terms, the social and the Brahminical elites, they always try to formulate certain policies which goes against the majority section of society. So we have to check those elite politics and ideology. But coming to the Dalit Bahujan section of the society, which are getting benefit of the reservation after 1950s onwards, so this is the responsibility of Dalit Bahujan folks, which are coming to universities, going to parliament, and the bureaucracy. They have the double responsibility where they can protect themselves from the social elite, as well as they have put forward and save the Indian constitution and put forward the interest of the Dalit Bahujan, because these elites, they are being benefited of the great policies of Indian constitution. One is the reservation, so they need to pay back the society where they can uh, uh, save the constitution as well as put forth the interest of the marginalized section of the society. So in terms of elite, we have social elite, which is always Brahminical in a nature. Indian society, they always put forth the interest of the upper caste, so-called upper caste interest. But there are Dalit Bahujan intellectuals which are coming up. In university system, in bureaucracy, they have this responsibility where they can articulate and formulate and put forth the interest and save the interest of the marginalized section of the society, which they need to pay back. And that's how we can save Indian constitution, save the interest of the marginalized section of the society. Otherwise the social elite will eat up or the capture all the interest of the majority sections in terms of the Dalit Bahujan or Mool Nivasi interest. So social elite is one hand, and the Dalit Bahujan folks and the intellectuals one hand, which have the responsibility of preserving the interest of these classes.
Thank you, Dr. Senji. And we are coming to conclusion of today's discussion. Once again, I would like to read the topic of today's discussion. However good our constitution is, it has turned out bad because those who are elected to implement it happen to be a bad lot. In this context, what shall be the anticipated efforts and by whom to safeguard the Indian Constitution? Sir, please explain it within 2-3 minutes, because today's program is a 30 minutes program. We have reaching about 30 minutes, so please explain within 2-3 minutes and you'll giving your concluding remarks.
Oh, thank
Senji.
you. So this was a quote of Dr. Ambedkar in 1948 when he was presenting Indian Constitution to nation, where he says that however the good of a constitution, it might be bad because the ruling elite who has been given the responsibility to rule and implement the constitution, they happen to be the bad. In terms of uh, in terms of implementing the constitution, Dr. Ambedkar has been given the great responsibility who, to the people who are at the helms of the affairs. But second point, which is Dr. Ambedkar is trying to emphasize, which is not only the constitution which is on the paper, but he tried to emphasize the constitutionalism. So constitutionalism is basically how to implement Indian constitution effectively, so that the spirit of the constitution, the aim and the goal and the philosophy of the constitution can be implemented. So if the elite which are there in the polity, which are there in bureaucracy, which are in the university system, if they are following the spirit of the constitution, if they are following the constitutional morality, not their religious and caste morality or the cultural morality, but when they are coming into the public affairs, and they have been given the responsibility, they need to follow the constitutional morality, where they act according to the constitutions, they fulfill the need and demand of the constitution, not the will and the wishes of whatever their society want to do, whatever their religion wishes to do, whatever their caste teaches to them. But the more important, which Dr. Ambedkar tried to emphasize, is the constitutional spirit and the constitutionalism and the constitutional morality, which is very important in that sense. So, in that sense, Dr. Ambedkar has quoted these words, which are very important in today's time, that our constitution is great, but if the ruling elites, if they have bad intention, if they are not following the constitutional morality, if they are not interested in implementing constitution, then the great constitution might be the failed in one day. So we have to save the constitution from these folks as well.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Sen ji. With this short discussion, you have elaborated so many views, and have expressed so many views, and enlightened our viewers. And today's program is definitely useful to the younger generation and the educated class, and particularly to the Indian public. So it is the responsibility of the all the public who are the citizens of this country have to safeguard the Indian Constitution, and moreover, the in among Indians, the majority, that is Mulnivasi Bahujans, who are representing from Article 340, 341, and 342. Those people, those sector consists of more than 90% of Indian population, and the majority Mulnivasi Bahujans also needs to safeguard the Indian Constitution according to your views expressed today. Thank you for coming to MNT News Network. Please come once again. We will invite you on a different topic. Thank you for attending this today's discussion. Thank you, viewers, for watching this program. Please share this program. It is a record. It will be available in YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can share the program at any time to all the friends and relatives and all the public for enlightening and knowing about the greatness of the Indian Constitution. And please watch this program, and please watch our website www.mntnewsnetwork.com, and please share this program, and please contribute for the strengthening the movement. Thank you for watching this program. Jai Bhim, Jai Mulnivasi, Jai Bharat, Jai Samvidhan.
Jai Bhim.